by the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you a recipe, a 5-step recipe, how you can build a business while working on something you're really passionate about without relying on marketplaces. Not because marketplaces are bad, but because of the current market situation. And the recipe that I'm going to give you is used by many popular products like the logos you're seeing here. It's proven. We've been helping to hundreds of developers around the globe to follow the same steps. Before I start, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and what I'm doing here. So my name is Vova Feldman. I'm the founder and CEO of Freemius. I'm coming from a very technical background. I started to code when I was 12. My father's friend, he was a developer, he was a programmer, and he gave him a book about C development. My father is a dentist, so he just passed that book straight to me. Back then I was playing computer games, mainly strategy, Red Alert, World of Warcraft, and one evening I decided, okay, let's take a look, see what is this book all about. It was a little bit boring to start, but once I started to do some tutorials, it really blew my mind and actually changed my life. I always had that passion of building stuff. I was playing with Lego, and suddenly I discovered this opportunity that I can actually type things on a keyboard, which is English, and create intelligence. And that was, it really changed the course of my life because I realized very early that this is the path I want to do. And already in high school, I work in a startup. I went to study computer science and math, got involved very quickly in the startups ecosystem in Israel, which is pretty big. And I was always that technical person, that developer, the CTO, up until 2012. So we got accepted to this startup accelerator in Silicon Valley, and my co-founder, he couldn't come because of personal reasons. And we had two options, basically. It was me and our VP of engineering, or our first employee. We arrived to the Silicon Valley, and we could sit there, work on a product, do our developer stuff, or we could step in and also basically leverage the power of the accelerator. So this is what I've done. To be honest, it was super scary. My balls were shaking, but I managed to do that, and suddenly I found myself, pitching to investors, going to sales meetings with huge companies like Netflix, Salesforce, France Telecom, and that startup, it actually succeeded. We managed to sell the company, and later on, I thought about what I'm going to do next. And I had this side project. This is why I ask you about side projects and cool stuff. And I said, okay, I learned so many things. Maybe I will take the practices and the experience that I gained from the Silicon Valley and try to actually turn that into a business. So I joined with two guys, and we actually spent about a year turning it from a side project to a subscriptions business. And it worked pretty well. We started to make money fairly quickly, pay salaries. But what was very interesting to find is that the core product didn't really change. It remained the same thing that I built in few weekends of my spare time. And the whole year that we've been working on the business actually was around the infrastructure, the business aspects, the payments, the gateways integration, marketing. So we realized there's a huge gap in the ecosystem. And developers, for us, it's pretty easy to write code, push it to WordPress.org or to Git, but taking that and turning that into a business, it's a big difference. Typically, it's 10 times more complex and more time consuming. So the main three things that I learned during that process is that a good product business have three key components. The first one is a product. You have to have a great product, okay? And we'll talk about all those three components. The second one is you need to have a strong e-commerce infrastructure to facilitate your business. And the third one is distribution. Basically, you build cool product. You need to make sure that people have that people can, you have the exposure to get to people around the globe, so in order to get users and customers. So we'll talk about each and one of them, and let's start with a product. How do we choose a product? So the first thing that I think it's a must, okay, is following your passion. I know, yes, we all need money, but I'm telling you, it is possible to find your passion and also making money from that. If you won't follow your passion, you'll end up, you know, startup or any sort of business. It takes time until you get into that. If you won't be passionate about that, you'll probably won't succeed. So choose something that you're passionate about, something that specific, you know, the hobby that you have, the thing that you're working after the working hours in the weekends. It has to have a demand, okay? People, if it's only you that's using that product and no one else actually need that product, probably it's not a good candidate to turn it into a business. And you have different tools that you can do different analysis to understand the demand of the market, like Google Trends and Google AdWords. The third one is you need something that eventually, not necessarily from the first place, but people would be willing to pay for. And in order to know that, it's not about, this is a common mistake that many, including us, we've done. You know, you go, you build a product, you launch it, and then you hope that people will buy. That's not the right way to build a product business. There are many ways how you can sample the market and try to understand if people would be willing to pay you money. For example, you can go to different Facebook groups that are relevant to the product's target audience and ask them the different questions that you want to ask to kind of sample and understand if there's a need, as well as if there is a need, how much would they be willing to pay for that. And this is really important. Okay, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay, you can choose existing problem, something that there are already many plugins and themes doing, and do it better. The key is you need to work on really great user experience. And I do want to give a great example from that, from the WordPress ecosystem, is WP Rocket. So when WP Rocket started, there were like a bunch of caching plugins in WordPress, and they were all free, that had millions of users. And when they started, the key thing that they've done is they developed this amazing user experience that is compelling to users and not developers. So if you're working on something that already exists, that's absolutely fine if you're passionate about. Make sure it's better and it has a better user experience. So moving to the second component, the infrastructure. So there are three ways how you can basically sell your products in a market today. The first one is marketplaces, which is kind of obvious. We have self-hosted platforms, and we'll talk about each and every one of them. And there are SaaS platforms, or managed e-commerce. So marketplaces, think about it that way. It's like a car dealership that's selling products from different vendors. So a car dealership that sells Ford, they're selling BMW all together, but in the front is the marketplace, is the brand of the marketplace. While the store is, it could be, you know, a Ford dealership that's selling different cars, but they all belong to the same vendor, Ford. Self-hosted solutions, we can take a look at that as from the physical world. We have the cash register, okay, and there's the software of the cash register. So if we use that analogy on websites, basically the cash register itself is your hosting, is your server, and the self-hosted software is the software that's running on that cash register. So when you're using a self-hosted solution or software, you are basically responsible to connect the two. So you're responsible installing the software on the cash register on your server. You're responsible to maintaining that. If there are updates, you're responsible to make sure that those updates are working. It's pretty much up to you. Of course, the software does provide you support in some level, but it's still on you. And a good way to explain what is managed e-commerce solution or SaaS is you get a cash register, which is the hardware, together with a software, and it solves everything. You get like a black box, and you can use it if there are issues, compliance, GDPR, strong customer authentication, whatever the European Union is throwing at us, the responsibility is on the managed solution. So those are like the popular solutions, the different types in the WordPress ecosystem. So on marketplaces, we have Envato, which is behind Code Canyon and ThemeForest. Template Monster and Creative Market. There are more marketplaces, but those are, I would say, the biggest ones. In a self-hosted world, we have WooCommerce, which is an e-commerce that is more focused on selling physical goods, but there are different extensions that you can install on top of on top of WooCommerce to also sell digital stuff with that. And we have Easy Digital Downloads that is also an e-commerce plugin like WooCommerce, but it's focused specifically on selling digital products. And in a managed world, we have Freemius, which is our company. There are more companies that are doing managed e-commerce, but we're the only one that focused on the market space and specifically on plugins and themes. So let's talk about marketplaces because you know, my premise here is to show you why I think it's not a good time to rely on marketplaces if you're starting to sell. So the good things about marketplaces, right? They solve the e-commerce infrastructure. You get a full payment solution, full fulfillment solution. You don't need to think about this stuff. You don't need to think about sales taxes. And in theory, marketplaces can market you and bring you customers. Okay, and we'll talk in a second why it's in theory. And also, the success relies on the marketplace. The reason it relies on a marketplace is basically if the marketplace have many users, in theory, you should be more successful because they can drive more traffic to your marketplace listing. The reason it's yellow, the check there, is because it's not like you are pushing your plugin zip to the marketplace and they take care of all the rest. You still need to build and write the copy for your marketplace listing. So if you are not good in that, the discoverability of your product will not be as good. So let's talk about the downsides of the marketplaces and what I think today is probably not the best route to start a new business with. So first of all, the fees are pretty high with marketplaces. It can start from 70% and get, after you cross a certain level of revenues, it goes down to 30%. So remember, the marketing is done for you was a benefit, but in the current market stage, what's happening, all those marketplaces, they already have pretty large inventory. There are like probably 10,000 different themes on ThemeForest and probably the same amount of plugins. The goal of the marketplace is maximizing their revenues, not your revenues, not your product's revenues. And they already have their own top sellers. They have the top 10 or top 100 moneymakers on that marketplace. And what's happening today, and we're seeing it across all the marketplaces, they're focusing to push those best sellers. Why? Because they're already successful. They build they already have trust between the marketplace and those companies that building those products. They know the support is good. They already validated that. And in the end of the day, that's a good strategy for the marketplace because that's how they make more money. So for a new seller, if you're just joining the marketplace, the chance that you will get visibility and will be able to grow a sustainable business is very slim. Another one is your brand. So if you do want to build something for the long run, branding is really important. And when you sell from a marketplace directly, your brand is kind of left behind because in the end of the day, users are buying from the marketplace, not from you. They're paying to the marketplace. Another big one and related to the branding is marketplaces in some way lock you in, okay? Because they're in theory bringing you the customers and traffic, they don't want to share that information with you. So even if you're in a marketplace for 5 years and you have tens of thousands of customers, okay? If you want to release a new product right now, you're pretty much starting from scratch. You don't have that mailing list or people that you can communicate to them. Hey guys, we released this cool product. You already trust that. Maybe you should check it out. You don't have that option. You need to start from scratch. Another big one is the race to the bottom. So marketplaces today, they're global, right? They accept sellers from different geolocations in the world. We have developers from Ukraine, we have developers from New York, and we have developers from developing countries, some villages in India. The quality of the product can be exactly the same, but the cost of living is very different. So if, you know, a guy that lives in some village in India can make a small margin of $2 for every theme sale, another guy that lives in New York will need to have $50 margin in order just to sustain his living. So in the end of the day, we are, as consumers or the buyers, we go for the price. We prefer to buy products that are cheaper. And when you see the prices or the same products in the same category, just a click away from each other, many buyers go for the cheaper option. So inevitably, prices are going down in the marketplace all over. There are no subscriptions, which is a big one. Everyone understands today in the WordPress ecosystem that you need ongoing revenues. You can't just sell one-time license and support people for life. It's just not working anymore, and today's marketplaces just don't have solutions that provide subscriptions. And the last one is there are no trials. So trials are proven technique outside of the WordPress ecosystem, how you can significantly increase your revenue. And we at Freemius, for example, we're supporting trials, and those developers that are starting to sell trials, they see an increase by 20 to 30% in their revenues. So it's really meaningful, but today the marketplaces don't have the technology to actually protect your code, your software, against people that just, you know, opt in into the trial and continue using the software without paying anything. The third component, distribution. So there are long-term distribution channels. SEO, so you can start a blog, write content that is relevant to your target audience. Over time, Google, you know, rank it, and you're gonna start drive traffic to your website. Some people may buy it. We have affiliation, which basically means closing deal with different websites, maybe YouTube people, and paying them commission for promoting your products, whether it's with a link or maybe doing some promotional video about your product. We have social, right? Social media, basically. If you have a wedding themes, Pinterest can be a good place to promote your product. And we have partnerships. You can do partnerships with hosting companies, with other product companies, and kind of help each other to grow your user base. So those are all long-term strategies. But we also have a kind of fast and easy strategies. So the first one is marketplaces, which we discussed about it, and we already kind of established the situation that it's hard to start there because of the current situation. And we also have WordPress.org that we'll talk about in a second. So WordPress.org is the kind of the authority of the main website that related to the WordPress, to the open source WordPress project. Because it's the authority, Google, for example, they incentivize, or not incentivize, sorry, when you're searching for keywords that are related to WordPress, because WordPress.org is the authority, they're prioritizing pages from WordPress.org. So typically when you will go to Google and search for something that related to WordPress plugins, WordPress themes, there is a good chance that the first result, or at least one of the results on the first page, will go directly from WordPress.org. The second channel is basically the WordPress admin dashboard. So when you are going and searching for plugins and themes inside the WordPress dashboard, the search engine that is connected to WordPress is basically WordPress.org. So wherever you look, that's pretty much it's not pretty much, that's the most popular plugins and themes search engine on the web right now. I think it's already crossed 2 billion downloads. So the question is, how do we make sure that our product is ranked high in WordPress.org and inside the WP admin? So luckily, WordPress is an open source project. And luckily, the website of WordPress.org is also open source. So we pretty much just looked on the code in the engine that are responsible for search. They're using Elasticsearch and looked on all the criteria that impacts the search. You can read more about that on our website. You can Google for Freemius SEO and you will find the article. But this is pretty much the criteria. There are more things. But when you are pushing a product to WordPress.org, You need to provide the title, you need to provide the description, short description, tags, translations, etc. There are many criteria. So those are all the different components that you have full control of. Okay, there are also the average rate and reviews, so that's really important to make sure that your average rate is high and you're getting good reviews. They also have a criteria there that incentivize updates, so make sure that you just update the product at least every half a year, something like that. And also, in order to push developers to resolve tickets, they also look in on the number of resolved tickets on WordPress.org. So when you have a product on WordPress.org, they also have a forum for every product where users can come, ask questions, complain, suggest features, whatever. It's good practice to solve those things in order to get prioritized. Okay, the caveat of WordPress.org, which is really important, is you cannot list premium inventory there. They only support free products, okay? Only free themes and only free plugins. So let's talk about the freemium model. Okay, so the freemium model is very simple, okay? You have something that you offer users for free, right? It has to be fully functional. It can't be just a teaser. And it should be actually applicable to most of the target audience. So you give them something for free, and if they want more features, whatever, then you sell them the premium offering, whatever it is, whether it's add-ons or the pro plan. While the premium model just says, if you want something, you need to pay for it, and we'll give you everything that we have. So why the freemium model is so great, especially if you're just starting, or if you've been on a marketplace for many years and now you want to kind of shift out from the marketplace. So there are many studies about that, but there is something different when we get things for free. Okay, there's a big difference between paying 10 cents versus getting something for free. Something in our brain, it's even if we don't need that, we may try that because it's free. So it's much easier to get that initial traction when you offer something for free. It's a good way to start building credibility. If you are just starting, people don't know your brand, that's a good way to get started, right? They try the free product, they like it, some of them, and they start to respect your brand. And you get a lot of feedback. Typical conversion of a freemium business, let's say it's 2%, right? Versus premium, that it's probably those 2% that are only buying. So you can pretty much get 50 times more the feedback that you will get from a premium-only product. And this is great because it can give you ideas what you can do for the premium offering. So this is the 5-step recipe, okay? And it's pretty easy if you think about it. So create a free plugin or a theme, push it to WordPress.org. Okay, back to the product, it has to provide real value. It's important. If you don't provide value, people will not use it. Make sure the user experience is great. Submit the plugin to WordPress.org. Start to optimize the listing, because if this is something that is really important to mention. Do spend time on optimizing the listing on WordPress.org. If you're not a copywriter or you have problem writing in English, there are enough services and solutions how you can hire someone, people that are specialized in marketplaces copywriting, and you can hire them to do that. In order to do that, you need to do keywords research. Go to WordPress.org. After you did the keywords research, go to WordPress.org, search those keywords, see what are the top items that's showing on top, open their listing, and just see how many occurrences. I know it's kind of, the old technology of Google, but see how many times the occurrence of the key phrase is showing on the listing. And just make sure that your product have more occurrences. So don't do keyword stuffing, but actually write a richer copy that will be compelling to users. After you have that, start collecting feedback and improving your product. Okay, users will naturally start to contact you. Be very receptive to that. Be very open, especially if you are just starting, because you want to get as more feedback as you can. Start improving your free product, as well as start writing down ideas for what you can use for your premium offering. A good kind of balance to understand what could be a good candidate for a premium offering is something that saves a lot of time for users, helps them make money, and it should be pretty much compelling, let's say, to 20% of the users. Don't try to put a feature that is relevant for all your audience in the premium offering, because that should be in the free offering. And then just start selling subscriptions, whether it's with self-hosted solution or managed solution. Start selling subscriptions, and it is the key for sustainable business for the long run. You don't want to keep chasing customers every month, because when you have lifetime business, it means that you just sell, and for the next month you have to chase for sales again. It's not very sustainable. And promote the premium offering once you have that premium offering. Promote it through the WP admin dashboard. And the reason it's great technology, a great process to do that is because all this process, you're pretty much building the premium offering based on the needs of your free users. So they will convert eventually, or some of them will convert, because you're building those features really for the audience that ask you to build them. And don't be very intrusive with the WP admin dashboard. Be very gentle, because users don't like that. But just an idea is, if you can quantify the value of your product. For example, if you have an exit intent plugin, right? So you are helping your users to generate leads to your website. So let's say once you help them to capture 100 leads, you can add an admin notice inside the WP admin dashboard and say something, hey, you know, we help you to collect 100 leads. We have extra paid features, check it out, right? Something gentle to show the value that you're providing to the users, but also, you know, push them to the paid offering, because it's a fair deal. They can just dismiss the message, but some of them will convert. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions.
Thank you. So what is your platform Freemius for?
It is a managed e-commerce. It basically helps you to sell, it take care of the payments, of the subscriptions, all this stuff. So you don't need to think about it. You just have your own website and you can focus on your products. Better? Better?
So my niche in WordPress is kind of, I don't work with end users. I typically work with other developers. And what my side projects are also tend to be like developer focused. In your opinion and or experience, do these kind of projects make a good candidate for like a premium version?
Can you refine that question? I'm not sure I get it.
So for example, I have a plugin which is like Profiler plugin, which serves to diagnose and optimize performance of the WordPress site, but it's not a plugin that...
It's a developer-facing
It's a developer thing. It's things that
so
other developers use.
I think absolutely you still need to validate that there is enough audience to buy that, and what is the competition. You need to do that research, but you know, there are many developer-focused products that are successful, like advanced custom fields and all those types of products that are more developers-oriented. So definitely.
It's kind of arguable where ACF falls on the scale.
Okay. You need to do you know your market research. Maybe if there are no alternatives in your space and it's very niche, you can actually charge much more, right?
Yeah, that's like I would think I would go for like rather pricier products.
Absolutely. So we see just people think that, you know, typically plugins or themes are $50, but we have products that are sold for, it's typically sold as solutions, sold for $1,000 a month as well, right? It's kind of surprising, but it depends on, you know, your target audience. I agree that developers, naturally, they don't like to pay for things.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yes, because we all have that, you know, I'm a developer, why do I need to pay? I'll just build it. We have that tendency that we ignore the value of our time. So, but if they're more business-oriented or, you know, Like you can target agencies, for example. Agencies have developers.
Do you have like any success stories on your platform for developer tools?
Nothing that I need to think about.
Nothing comes
Yeah,
to
we
mind.
have security stuff, I would say, that are more. It's not developers. I would need to
also
think about.
not really developer thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the speech. It was very practical and interesting.
Thanks.
And so your platform doesn't do any marketing. We do marketing through our websites, as far as I understand. But what happens when a person actually clicks the subscription on our backend, say, and he gets to your website? Would he see it as a third-party service, or is it branded or anything like that? And then another question.
Let's do question by question.
Okay, please, yes.
Okay, because I'll forget.
Yes, please.
So the selling itself happening on your website.
Okay.
Okay, you basically embed a piece of JavaScript. Once the person clicks on a buy button, we show a model dialog box. Okay, so the experience feels as if you are the one that's selling.
Cool. That's really cool. Okay, the second question is, you've mentioned the commission of the marketplace. What are your commission?
7%.
7%?
Yes.
Right from the beginning, or because 7% is...
We can talk about it later.
Okay. Okay, but 7% is much better, yeah, than 30. Okay, thank you. Yes.
No problem.
Thank you for your speech, much appreciated. I would like to ask you how to make the donations work with success. I recently did a list of plugins for advanced custom fields, but none of them wasn't any of donations there. How to make it work?
You can't.
Really?
Donations not working, okay? So I can tell you that with the business that I built before Freemius, the one that kind of helped us understand that there's a gap in the market, it was running since the end of 2010 until mid-2013. We had an option to get donations, okay? And we had, back then, I think 30,000 registered users. Through the whole period, $30. People don't like to pay money if they don't have to.
So there is no any way?
You can try. Spend 5 years, see how much money you make. No, it's just not working.
So you recommended at least a couple of bucks or any
No,
small
I would
fee?
not recommend couple of bucks because it's devalue your product. I would say that the minimum price that we recommend to sell something is $30 and above. Because when someone says that you're selling something for $10, the immediate signal, okay, it's not serious, it's a side thing, I can't really trust that, I don't know what's going on about the support. People that are willing to pay money for products, for them $10 or $40, $50 is the same thing. Yes, at least. That's the minimum number that we recommend.
Thank you, no more questions.
What about them? So yeah, we act as a reseller. One of the reasons we chose that model is exactly all those different compliances like sales taxes, GDPR, and whatever, things are thrown. So we take care of that for you. It's like seamless for you.
Hello, and sorry for my bad English.
You can speak in Russian, but I will answer in English.
Хорошо, если можно по-русски.
Давай.
Что вы можете сказать по поводу комбайнинг, объединения всех этих моделей?
Bundles?
Нет.
Okay.
Я знаю, что есть возможность на маркетплейсах публиковать не эксклюзивно продавать. То есть, есть ли у вас опыт какой-то или, вообще, что вы можете сказать на этот счет? Допустим, рассовать по всем маркетплейсам не эксклюзивно, плюс продавать на своем сайте и плюс, допустим, использовать вашу платформу. Как вам такое решение?
So the challenge in selling in a marketplace as well as selling from your website is you kind of need to maintain two products. Because when you sell in today's marketplaces, you have to work based on a pattern of the marketplace, right? They have their own licensing, if at all. They don't have subscriptions. Like in Vado, when someone buys, they get 6 months of support and lifetime updates. And then if you want to sell it from your end, you will use some other system, doesn't matter what. It will have a different licensing, different payments mechanism. So I would say it's kind of more challenging in terms of maintenance. It's definitely possible. I would say that for users that are new into that space, Marketplace is a good way to get initial validation, right? In theory, you can push something. It's actually not easy to get accepted to today's marketplaces because they have so much inventory and they're very strict in their guidelines, and the review process is pretty tough right now. But it's a good way to kind of sample the market because you can, in theory, push your product and see if there is need and people actually pay for that, as well as get some initial review of your product in terms of code. So it's a good way to kind of test the waters, I'll call it that way. But for the long run, I think that, again, today's marketplaces, it's hard to get started on them. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Thank you for your speech.
Thank you.
And what about user accounts? When someone buys this product on my website, but actually paying with your service.
Right.
But after this, I want to show order for my user, or get or allowed to download invoice, or something else, or show orders history if he will buy a couple of times. Where it all will be available?
We try to solve all those pains for you, so you won't need to deal with that. When they purchase, they get an email from from Freemius, branded with your stuff, but they get the invoice, the receipt, the subscription, all the information, as well as we provide you a fully featured user dashboard that you can actually embed into your site as an iframe with some communication with a parent that has everything inside. The invoices, the orders history, subscriptions, the websites they're using. We're trying to take all that pain away from you, basically.
And what about visual part?
You can customize it. You can add your own custom CSS to make the look and feel more like your website.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
We support monthly, yearly, and also lifetime sales as well. It's the minimum recommendation. Yes. Okay. So yeah, it's actually a good question. So one of the things that is kind of common in our ecosystem is selling like multi-site licenses, right? You sell one price for a single site, a different price for 5 sites. So yeah, we support all the things that are common. That's our focus, plugins and things. We've been doing that for 5 years, okay? So what we're doing actually, because we stumble across that issue that sometimes people deactivate the product, and if you're a regular user, not someone that involved in community, knows what's going on in WordPress, your perception, I installed the product, I'm probably not paying for that anymore. Okay, so it wasn't working that way before, but what we've done right now is when you deactivate the plugin or theme, if it's only, the license is only activated on that specific website, we're showing a message asking you, would you like to cancel the subscription or continue with the subscription? So it's kind of, it was more for us to reduce the disputes of those people that had that confusion. Anything else?
Thank you very much for your speech. How does the onboarding process look?
Of our solution, you mean?
Yes, of your solution.
We're diving deep into Freemius. Okay. So it's a combination of an SDK that you integrate into your product that automatically connects with all our backend, with the API, with the licensing engine, you know, the payments, all the things that your business need, the updates, whatever. Okay, you can, in theory, implement everything yourself because it's just API based, and everything we do, you can access it through the API. But you integrate the SDK in your product, configure your plans and prices, embed the checkout, the JavaScript on your website, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
The last two questions. Okay.
I'm just curious, can you provide us some statistics about your platform, such as how many providers do you have, how many product sales you already have? What is
Do you want to see the balance sheet?
no, just general statistics.
So we have hundreds of products on Freemius. I can share revenues. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. For example, recently Ocean WP moved to Freemius and a few other big players.
How many copies were sold through your platform?
I cannot tell you that. Because I cannot.
Other platforms share.
We're not a marketplace, so it's like, you know, it's the confidential data of our sellers. We're the solution that helps them to sell their solutions, but the data is theirs, right? We just collect that data for them, but it's their data.
I mean, you can share this information and say that we are proud to say that we solved the...
We are proud to say that we're working with wonderful partners, but we're not going to share numbers on that.
Is it only for WordPress, or can we have some JavaScript?
So we do have a few of those. Our focus is WordPress plugins and themes. So the API is agnostic, right? It's a licensing engine, updates engine, all those different components that you need for selling plugins and themes. So you can integrate that, but some of the terminology would probably not be perfect for, you know, a JavaScript library, because we are using plugins, themes, bundles, and there are a bunch of automated emails. We do a lot of like marketing automation stuff for you to maximize your revenues, like cart recovery, donning mechanisms, all this stuff, you get them out of the box. So the terminology won't be perfect. So I'm not sure if it would be a good fit at the current stage. Maybe in the future we will also expand to those fields.